Yeah, it looks still grainy. Hey, Tom here. Oh, man, we have a terrible internet connection, but this is about as good as it's going to get. Everything look okay? Get a little more light. Cool. All right. Hey, Cyrus. I got to get you to stop asking me questions on that link you're using. It goes to my, it gets forwarded 10 places and then gets to my final email. And so that the best way is in the forums, to be honest, because with the forums, I get notified right away. So everybody see me well enough and hear me well enough? Maybe it was. Sorry, I'm getting used to all the technology we're using too. Cool. Okay, you guys can hear me. Cool. Great. See some familiar faces or names and faces on the icons. I want everybody to be successful. Number one, really want everybody to be successful. And hey, Heckmer, and I know Heckmer, you're one of the hardest workers, but I got to watch you, Heckmer. I feel like you might be jumping ahead too fast, and I don't want you to make a mistake. And I posted that in the forums earlier, not with just you in mind, some others too. But if you get ahead of yourself, you can ruin an opportunity. And I know you guys have heard me say I've missed deals by minutes, hours, days, weeks, whatever. I've done it. I've lost it. But guess what? Like today's a good example. Look, I still got my sunglasses on. It's because I'm working so much that I ain't got any time. But I'll get my glasses on here. What I'm really trying to get at is it would be the biggest mistake ever if you pull the trigger on buying something that isn't a good deal, okay? And I've sold 4 houses in like the last 3 weeks. In fact, I'm excited because if you guys got in last night, so I told you I sold one. Well, actually, it's a Zoom meeting that I was talking about. I got to be quiet a little bit on that one because this is live. This goes out to everyone. I'm going to wait to talk about that one. But in the Zoom meeting, I was talking about some current deals I have that I wouldn't want to say publicly, but in the Zoom, they're private. They're not going nowhere. But so a bunch of you here are, in the mentorship, and, you guys are doing great. I was, videotaping today because I'm trying to make the second part of this lesson. I feel like I got to speed it up a little bit because everybody's so anxious. Everybody's, you're bird dogging some of you before you know what the values are. And it's okay to bird dog quietly, but you go knocking on the door and asking what something's worth, and they're going to say, sure, I'll sell it to you. You're going to be like me when I lost that damn beach house. And I could have made $150,000, and that was 35 years ago. And that was a lot of money to me 35 years ago. And I don't want that to happen to you. So it sounds hypocritical to say, yeah, you can miss a deal by minutes and hours. And at the same time, I'm saying, wait, I don't want you to knock on somebody's door and say, hey, you want to sell that? And they say, sure, how much you give me? And then you're standing there with your mouth open because you don't know what it's worth. That's the worst. That's the worst thing you can do because you just put the bug in his ear, and now he's got time to go look for and figure out what he can get for it. That's really how this game goes. People sell stuff under market. They do. They don't do their due diligence. They don't, or it comes too easy, or they don't care. I've sold stuff under market. I sold 2 of these houses, one to my girlfriend's son, one to a good friend and worker of mine that's worked for me for a long time. In fact, I just found out I actually probably lost money. I gave him such a good deal on it. but it's okay. He's worked for me many years, and I don't care. But I want to say, it's you got to work hard. You got to work hard. And let's see. Yeah. Hey, Damien, glad you're here. Yeah. But I guess what I'm really trying to get to you is you got to put in the work. And I said that in the forum earlier in the private members area. You got to put in the work. There's no getting around it. It doesn't matter how anxious you are. My boys actually made a good point. So look, I got twin boys. One was just now helping me get set up with my wine and a bottle on the side here in case I run out. And I'm really proud of them. I got twin boys, and they don't love real estate. Man, I probably because they've gone with me everywhere, and I've dragged them through, probably 1 million or 2 square feet of real estate at least, and my one daughter, I used to swing her in a circle in every bedroom of every house or building that I'd buy. It was just kind of our thing for a while until she got too heavy. I couldn't do it anymore. But look, I want you to, I want you to do it right. I just want you to do it right. And I can tell you right now, if you jump before you're ready, you're going to end up blowing an opportunity. And, I told you about my buddy Jack, and, in the book I talk about Jack. Well, Jack's a real person. And Jack, and you guys know from the meetings, if you watch the meetings, Robert today told me he hadn't even watched all the meetings. And, when he's ready to go, and it's like, yeah, look, you only had one class, Robert. And, and look, we're friends here, right? And Robert's like, well, yeah, haha. He goes, I guess I better read the rest of the book too. Yeah, well, that was a prerequisite before taking this class, being in the membership, in the gold membership. You had to read the book first. So I know some are going to slip through the cracks, but listen, you're defeating yourself. You're going to screw it up for yourself if you don't read the book a couple times. If you don't watch the Q&A. Listen, I did a 3-hour Q&A after the first class. It was as valuable as the class. Like I say, the book, look, the book is the foundation, okay? But the questions and answers that come out of the discussion of the first part of the 4-part course that I'm giving you, I mean, that was so important. What Ellie did, she saw a guy putting up an estate sign in the yard. She didn't just wait for the numbers. She went and talked to the guy. She got on it. That's how you get the deal. And she got there, and she was the first one there. And I believe she said the house was already sold. But she went a step further. She said, well, what else is there? What else you got? It's a great question, Ellie. I'm really proud of you. It's a great question. It's like you got to just be, you just can't be dissuaded by anybody or anything. And Heckmer and Robert, you guys were talking about, hey, let's get together and listen, you're going to blow it for yourselves. I tell you guys from the very beginning, you got to be a one-man show. You can't be dissuaded by others. You can't have a husband or a wife that rains on your parade. That can happen. And I know, Ellie, you're married, and I see your husband. He watches you go at it. He knows he's got an asset of a wife. He knows you're just a steamroller, and he's letting you go. And I love it. It's great. But I'm telling you, you can be too anxious and you can screw yourself up. And, I've been swamped. I've been swamped for a lot of reasons. I got 3 or 4 buildings rented, big tenants, a lot of money coming in that I've been losing for the last several months. So that's been keeping me busy. Plus, there's renovations. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on along with that. Tenant improvements. Some I take care of, some they do. And then there's, just getting these houses sold. I'm using an accommodator. I'm doing a 1031 on 2 of these properties. And now I got 45 days to find something else. And I still have my obligation to you guys to teach you. And, you're going to see, I got something to share with you. It's really, really cool. Really, really cool. There's a guy that he's probably my biggest fan, to be quite honest, but he's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. And I'm going to share with you next week, but it's Jeb, man, I love you. I appreciate everything you do. But he took the time, he compared, and I don't want to give too much away because I do it, but he was comparing my book to somebody else's. And what he was talking about, he said, look, everything Tom gives you is an action item, right? I'm a businessman. I don't know how to do fluff. I just don't know how to do it. It's like, I don't even like I say, I tell you guys, read the book. I don't want stupid questions. I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to make money. And that means you got to put in the time, and you got to do the work, and you got to read, and you got to do the stuff. You got to do it. There's no getting around it. You got to do it. And if you don't, you're just defeating yourself. I can't tell you what to buy. I can tell you what to do. I can help you how to think things through, but I'm not making the decision for anybody. Although if you were in that Zoom meeting the other day, there's a guy that was in there. He's not even a part of the gold membership, but he was in there, and he was telling me he just got into escrow. He's 3 days into it, and he had a 10-year plan. I said, dude, I don't normally tell people to do anything or not do anything, but I'm telling you right now, don't buy that. Don't do it. Because he was about to tie himself down for the next 10 years. But back to my point about the Jeb and the book comparison, what he was talking about is the difference between me. You guys know, I can't stand fake gurus, and I don't even know what to call a guru. Not that I'm a guru, but I'm a real real estate investor, real. And I care about you guys. I do. I care about you guys. And I don't want you to screw up. I don't want you to make a mistake. And what I'm getting at is, like, every day, these guys ask for your money. Like, invest with me every day. They don't give you any information. They don't give you anything that'll do you any good. Won't do you any good. Okay. I give you stuff. I give you information every day. I teach you something. Okay. Every day I teach you something. Every day these other guys ask you for money. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. But the masses are the asses. Don't be the asses. Okay. The masses are the asses. Most people are too dumb. They don't think. They're lazy. They don't do what they need to do to get wealthy. They don't put in the work. So anyways, that's where I'm going with that. I'm going to go to Q&A now, and let's see what you got. Okay. All right. Let's just start over. All right. Okay. Let's say everybody like the video, please. I'm going to go back here to the top and hit the questions in order. No. Kyle, you're the first. Go ahead. Ask. What's your question, Kyle? Go ahead. I'll jump to the bottom. Yeah, well, good for you, Easy Life. Take off if you're not going to learn anything. I don't care. Not everybody's a doctor. And it wasn't easy becoming a doctor. In fact, you know what? I had a guy work on my wrist. And and Easy Life, I'm a little bit grumpy tonight. But the deal is, not everybody knocks down the money that a doctor makes. Not that a doctor makes that much money, to be quite honest, but comparatively they do. But the years and time you got to put in to learn to be an MD, it's same as being a good real estate investor. You got to put in the hours. You got to put in the time. You don't just learn about. You don't learn what you know as a doctor without a lot of studying. I know how many years you guys got to put in. It's a ton, and that's what I'm saying, is you got to put in the time. So Kyle, okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. Wait. Okay. All right. Let's just go to the next question. Yeah, Ellie, you're right. That beach house will haunt me forever. But there's a deal worse than that I lost a couple $1 million on. That's only 5 years ago. That one is way worse. So, Paul, listen, I try to make an offer. Paul's question is this. So do you make an offer with acceptance on the spot? Listen, you guys know, if you watch me long, I sit down and I write out the terms with the person that I'm negotiating with. I say, let's go have coffee. And a lot of times it gets written on a napkin. And I say, what do you want? I write it down. Will you take terms? And then I talk to them about terms. I talk to them about owner financing. Maybe on it, maybe they don't. We figure it out. if owner financing is something to do or can do. So I say, okay, great. And if they can, we write down the terms. If they don't, it's cash. But and how long do you want to take before we what kind of an escrow period do you want before I pay you up? And then they agree, we write it down, and then I just sign it. I sign it and I turn it around and I go, okay, here's everything we talked about. Sign it and I'll go open escrow. I'll go to title and we'll get this thing going. And 90% of the time it works. And sometimes it's like, whoa, well, gee, but a lot of times they're like, right on, because they're serious. They want to sell. Not everybody's serious about selling. Okay. But see, that's what I'm talking about, not being ready. If you got to know what values are so that you can sit down and put your signature on the dotted line there that you created in the handwritten contract that you made. If you're not at that point, you're not ready to go negotiate. You don't need to knock on that person's door. If you don't know what their property's worth, you're going to be dumbfounded when they say, okay, I'll sell it. What do you give me? And you don't know what to say. It's a terrible place to be. Hey, Cyrus. Let's see. Good, Ellie. Like I said, I told you the other day, man, just nurture that thing. Don't let that guy get away. Make him like you. All right. Kyle's asking, can you assume a mortgage off someone who is at risk of going into foreclosure? Well, I mean, listen, you can pull them out of debt. You can put them in a contract and make them obligated to sell to you. And then you can pull them out of their situation so they're no longer in foreclosure. That happens, and I've done that. I've had people pre-foreclosure, what we call it, pre-foreclosure. And, you can't assume it unless the note's assumable, unless you want to try to do a wrap, but not everything's wrappable either. Most everything isn't. If you wrap it, then it triggers an alienation clause. But you could probably do it and buy enough time that, you go ahead and, I would just have an obligation from them, get a contract for deed, and just get it closed. One time I'll tell you what I did. This was a very profitable deal. I made a couple $1 million on this. I had a property owned by 5 sisters. Actually, one had died. So I had 4 sisters and the heirs of the 5th. They hated each other. It was a shame. It was a terrible thing. And I was buying the property. My goal was to buy the property that they had all lived on as kids together. Their mother had kind of deeded it to them. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But the bottom line, we made a deal and the kids agreed. And then the mother got dementia. And then I couldn't buy it. I mean, I legally just couldn't buy it. So then it had to go back to court and go back to the land in the hands. I was buying it for $150. And then it went into an attorney's hands. And then all of a sudden I had a bid war against somebody else because they had to post it and all this other stuff. And thank God people weren't watching, because I went from buying it from $150, I had to jump to $200. In fact, I outbid the guy at $200. And then I said, hey, I'll give you $205. And the lawyer goes, hey, Tom, you don't have to go $205. You've already got it at $200. I said, you know what? Just give him $205. And I mean, I sold that property for $2.8 million, or a little more than that. I can't remember exactly, but I made a lot of money. But again, it's kind of what Ellie chasing down that person. Believe me, what I did with these 4 sisters is some wanted to sell, some didn't. I gave this one $10,000. I said, I'll take your position in the estate and buy your rights. And as soon as I did that, or I gave him some money. I can't remember exactly how I did it. But then these other 3 were like, okay, even though they didn't like each other, didn't talk to each other, they're like, I'm out of here. Let's just sell it. And then I ended up buying it. But anyways, that's where I'm going with that. But the bottom line is, on a wrap, what you're talking about, you could bail somebody out of foreclosure, and then you just bail them out of foreclosure and you're not going to get the house. You got to have, you got to have your stuff. You got to have it down, Kyle. You got to make sure that you have the rights to buy it. There might be other liens and encumbrances. I wouldn't bail somebody out unless there might be some other liens on it. You know what I mean? You got to go to the title company, get a title policy. at least a preliminary title report to see that it's clear. All right. Okay. So I've spoken with a few agents who've listed homes in my target area, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, JR. You wrote, I've spoken with a few agents who've listed homes in my target area, but that's fine. I'm sorry. I thought you talked directly to people that own houses. So that's good. Yeah, and believe me, agents don't know what they're talking about. Believe me, agents, listen, not all of them, because I'm friends with some, right? But a lot of them that I don't know, let's say, the ones that they don't know what they're doing. They don't care. They got the listing. They don't care if it sells for 200 or 300. All they know is they're going to get a piece of it. And that's all they really care about. I mean, I just, unless they're really successful and they got a lot of money and they're selling their mother's property or their brother's property or somebody close to them, then they maybe step up and take a little more care. But believe me, half the time the agents, and that's why when my agent has a property sold and I want to talk to the listing agent, or not, sorry, the selling agent, because I'm usually selling, I go straight to the listing agent and I talk to them. And even when I buy, I do too. Because I can talk to them and I can discern how tough the seller is if they're selling, or how tough the buyer is if they're buying. So like the other day, well, I can't talk about it yet. Can't talk about it. Talk about it after it closes. But the bottom line is, some people, the agents really only care about closing. They get a commission. They don't care if they get a commission, like I said, on 400 or 500,000. It doesn't matter, or 200, whatever. So let's see what else we got here. Okay, I'm sorry, Easy Life. Have I talked about the deal where I lost 7 figures? Oh, yeah. I don't really like talking about that one. I just talked about it, right? Yeah, that was a painful one. I'm not going to go through it tonight, but the bottom line, it's not the same reason I lost the beach house. But nevertheless, it's a painful one. It's one I still drive by because I own properties. I own, I own a lot of property, and I own property on both sides of that property. And it's painful, but I'll talk about that some other time. All right, Paul Majarek, what's your best way to persuade a seller if they want to see a few agents to work out the market value after you make them an offer? Well, there's nothing you can do, but what I can tell you, and actually I just made this mistake. A lot of times you say, look, I'll give you this. And then they're going to say, well, I need to run this by an agent or two, or somebody that's an agent or whatever. And you go, okay, well, let them do it. They might have an agent, you always worry, like the property I'm sitting on right now is one that I had to do that. That's exactly what I had to do. I saw these people, I approached them, I saw them walking, they're old people. And I said, hey, I was wondering if you'd be interested in selling this property. And they go, as a matter of fact, we are. And I go, well, I'd like to buy it. And he said, well, I'd like to sell it. And so we go in and we talked. And he said, well, I'm going to run it by a real estate agent and see what he tells me he can get for it. And then I'll call you back. And I said, okay. And then, of course, I'm biting my nails for a week. And he calls me back and he said, the agent said he could get $220,000 for that property. And I go, okay, I'll give you $220,000. And we made a deal on the spot. I was super happy, unbelievably happy. It was a great deal. And then after we signed it and we got it signed, I said, hey, you know what? You're going to save. There's no agent in here. We'll save. Maybe it was right when we're signing. I go, 6% of this deal is $12,000. Can we split that savings? And, you make 6 more and I make 6 and I pay 6 less. And he said, sure. And so that 220 went down to 214. Okay. You just got to keep it cordial. You don't want to blow a deal. I mean, I don't care. I wouldn't have cared about $6,000 or not. I just know we're about to sign or we're signed. And hey, nothing wrong with making another $6,000 if I can. And that's what happened. But so just because somebody's going to go talk to an agent, it's not the end of the world. I mean, always my fear is, is the agents are going to say, oh, you can get a lot more than that. Because a lot of agents take that approach the way they compete with each other. They'll tell the client, oh, yeah, that agent told you can get 300, but I think I can get you 350. And of course they go, oh, 350, I'll give you my listing. So that kind of stuff happens. It's just what it is. But there's not much you can do. If they want to go shop it, don't worry about it. Just go, all right, well, let me know. I'm anxious. I want to make a deal. I've got money. I'm going to buy somebody's property. Let them know. I'm going to buy something. I'd like it to be yours. I like your property. Like I say, never be insulting. Don't talk down on the property. Just it is what it is. They're going to go talk. Guess what? A lot of times people don't have time. They don't have time. And so a week goes by. They don't talk to any realtors. And they're embarrassed when they talk to you and they go, yeah, well, I hadn't had time. So you give them another 2 or 3 days and you go, well, what do you think? And they're like, I still haven't done it. But you know what? They go, you know what? And then they just sign. They don't have time. In fact, like I said, I just sold the property. I told you I sold 2 properties very reasonably, one to my girlfriend's son and one to a friend that works for me. And the friend that works for me, I think I ended up selling it to him for $20,000 less than I might have in it. Anyhow, it was while I was working on a lesson for my gold members, I discovered this problem. Or what I did. I went and looked at the HUD statement. I'm like, oh shit, I screwed up. Anyways, that's what it is. All right. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, Paul, you can never go wrong when you make a profit, but what was it? Hank Booker, it tells me that I repeat a lot. You can never get hurt. You can never get hurt taking a profit. But same thing. All right, man. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so I didn't get to finish this, Jeb, and you're going to see it. But what I really liked about it is that he basically came away with one of the best points he made. And I'm going to make a video about this guy. Is he said, look, Tom teaches you something every day. Okay. The other guys ask for your money every day. Okay. And that's really kind of says it all, right? But he made another really great point. He said, look, you go give your money to Grant Cardone. Go give Grant $50,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever you want to do. Go give it to Grant Cardone. Okay. And then some of you take your money and invest it for yourself the way Tom does and Tom shows you. And then go to a bank and go see how much money you can borrow against your investment in Cardone Capital. Because they're going to go, you want me to loan you money against your equity in Cardone Capital? They can't even measure it. You know what? They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. But guess what? They look at the property, the equity in the property that you personally own, hold, and control. They'll loan you money. They will loan you money. So imagine having your money tied up in Cardone Capital and you can't borrow against it. You can't borrow. You get $200,000 supposedly, whatever. Maybe you have 500. You can't borrow against it. It's because it's controlled by somebody else. But when it's you that control it, when it's you that made it, when you hold the reins, as I say, you're going to be able to borrow money and go buy some more. All right, let's go. What else? All right. I always want to say Cabdullah. I know it's Cyrus. All right. What do you do about an owner financing for sale signs when they want full market value? No. Here's a good example. This is a great question. And I'll tell you why it's a great question. I bought a 24 unit apartment building. And okay, I was trying to steal this thing for $320,000. And that's what it was. I was trying to buy this thing for $320,000. It was a fantastic deal. And it was a professor at a university that owned this thing. And, and maybe he didn't need the money. Those guys actually get paid very well. But he says, Tom, he goes, man, the wife, she's got to hear 400,000. She's got to hear 400,000. Well, I was giving him 320,000 at 7%, I think, 7%, 7 or 8%. That was kind of the prevailing rate at the time. And I said, well, and he wanted to sell it. And I said, well, let me play with the figures. So I came back and I gave him 400,000 at 3%. Okay. So you can do the math, and it was nearly all owner carried, as I remember. But the bottom line is, 5% on $400,000 with $20,000 a year in interest, and this thing was going to be carried for a while. So no, just because somebody has owner financing, believe it or not, you could negotiate a deal no interest if they're partially brain dead. I mean, it happens. I mean, this is a university professor, and what he didn't realize is that selling it to me for maybe he did. Maybe he was just trying to get it off his back. So the wife didn't understand numbers. But the bottom line is, I was buying it cheaper at 400 at the lower interest rate than I was at 320. Okay. In fact, there's a really cool thing that happened in here also, and I've done this more than once, but this is really cool. I later sold that property for $660,000. I want to say 560, but I don't think it was 560. I think it was 660. Anyways, so I made a nice profit, right? Well, the owners were going to cash out the whole thing. Well, just before, when we went to the table to close it, you go to a table, you sit down at the table, and they call it the closing time. You sit down, you close, you each sign. They used to not have them in the same room. Now sometimes they schedule you an hour apart when you close a deal. Well, I had a note for, I don't know, 300,000 left. There was still 300,000 owed, probably, maybe 320. I don't know, but several hundred thousand is still owed, right? That I got at like 3% interest. They're about to pay me off, and they probably borrowing money at 6-7%. And so I tell them, I say last minute at the table, I said, hey, you know what? How would you like it if I carried 300,000 at 3%? Will you give me another $30,000? I said, do the math. They did the math. They go, yeah, we'll do it. I said, okay. Well, I have an assumable note. I'm going to let you assume this note, but you're going to pay me 30. So at the table, we raised the price $30,000, and then the note, which I told you, it didn't have an alienation clause. I just assigned it to them. They assumed the note, and it was that simple. They had the payoff. They knew it was owed. Instead of paying it off that day, they assumed the note. They didn't borrow the money they were going to borrow, and I made an extra $30,000. And these are the things you're going to learn from me. You ain't going to learn from Grant Cardone. You're not going to learn this stuff from Chris Crone. And these guys don't even talk about real deals. I mean, the stuff they talk about is just, we need money, more money, more money. Chris Crone, I don't know 100%, but I don't see much content coming out of that guy. Anyways, hit the like if you like this video. Subscribe, please, if you're new. Does that answer you, Cyrus? All right. Let's see. Yeah, easy life. I'm not wishing for anybody's failure. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else, but I don't wish any ill on anybody, because somebody crumbles, there's usually 1,000 investors attached to them, depending on who you're talking about. No, easy life, you're wrong. They are not 98%. See, you're buying the bullshit. I can tell you right now, easy life, you're wrong. Yeah, everything's 100% occupied when it is, but not when it's not. All right. NGO. Huh. Is that whoa? All right. Lofty Homes is a building materials company. We are focused on cabinets and vinyl plank flooring. Factory. Okay, great. This is spam. All right. But I used to be a cabinet maker, Tony. No problem. Yeah, easy life. I don't think you know what you're talking about. Sorry. Here's another question. Easy Life. What are your thoughts on buying new construction rentals for long-term rental income? Unnecessary. I buy properties for less than construction costs sometimes. So why would I want to buy a piece of land and buy everything new? Hey, Anne Marie, glad you're here. Landscape Lover, thanks for buying the book. Yeah, Damien, the only way you can comparable properties is just like it says, comparable. So you got to go find like kind stuff, and then there's variables. In any appraisal, obviously they can't compare everything to exactly the same thing, so they make adjustments, downward adjustments, upward adjustments, and that could be because it's a newer build. Could because it has better parking than another property. So they make an upward adjustment. If your property that you want to buy, they're appraising has better parking than another, or if you're next to a HUD project, they mark it down. Even the tax assessors accept that being next to a HUD project is not in your property's best interest, and they'll give you a downward adjustment. That's the tax assessor, and they're about the lamest appraisers there are. Okay, God. All right. Let me jump to the bottom here. Yeah, Tony, I wasn't being too hard on you, I don't think. Yeah, I know. Listen, I owned a cabinet shop for 10 years, almost 10 years, 9 years, 8 months. And I was so glad when I sold it, but I enjoyed it. And in fact, I'll show you guys something. See these thumbs? See how that one's shorter? It's a blade width shorter. I cut it off right there in a table saw. Took many weeks before I had to keep it above my head so my entire thumb wouldn't fall off. Let's see. All right. Yeah, listen, Paul, I don't like D's, but listen, what you call it's very subjective. You know what I mean? Not everybody. One man's B is another man's D. Okay, it just depends. What I can tell everybody right now is that in these times, especially, it's the properties 250 and under. Those are the ones that are going to move the easiest, and it depends on how affluent the area is that you're in, but there's just a lot more buyers for properties under 300,000 than over 300,000, and I can tell you right now, I've sold 3 houses like that were 300,000 and less, and I just sold one for cash, 560 something, and it's cash. It's cash. They actually had cash. But the people that got to finance a $500,000 home, there's fewer of those, I believe, in general, than there are people that'll buy a $250,000 home, and they can get financing much easier too, I believe. Okay, Anne Marie spent thousands of dollars to see Cardone. Yeah, in Las Vegas. So look, let me tell you where I think Grant Cardone is credible. He's great. He's a great salesman, and he's a good motivator. If all he's doing is telling everybody, "Hey, work 10 times harder." I saw a guy that had a 10 times shirt on. It was a biker riding by, and he had a 10 times conference shirt on. But I think the 10 times stuff, that might be the lost leader to a degree. I mean, I know he makes money on the courses and stuff. Believe me, the book's is nothing. But that might be the lost leader to get people to invest $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. And that is, to me, is a huge mistake. And look, he's got 3,200 investors, according to him. Maybe he could have 1%. Okay. 1%, that's 320 testimonials, right? Just get 1% of the people that have invested with you that say you're doing a great job and they're super happy. I haven't seen one. Okay. Anyways, yeah, sorry, Anne-Marie, but that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I hate is, you know, and you know what? I just can't mislead people that aren't where they want to be yet financially. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do it. And some people, to me, they just like, they're squeezing them like a turnip. You know what I mean? And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. All right. Yeah. I mean, you wait until you see this video. I'm gonna do a review on a video that's a review of me and Cardone. And anyways, it's a lot of fun. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Slick family. I'm not in a great mood tonight, but I wasn't too hard on Tony. No, anyways, I appreciate you coming in here, Tony. I don't think I was too hard on you. Like I said, you know what? I'll tell you what, when I was a cabinet maker, I'll tell you real quick, and this kind of goes to the working hard. You got to work hard. You got to work hard at whatever you do. You'll make money. The luckier you know, like I said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. When I was a cabinet maker, you're looking for houses that are framed, right? And, you go down to the permit department and maybe you could find out who's building a home, and jump. They used to have I forget what they called it, kind of a construction times to get ahead. There was like a little hill, like a little foothill in the middle of this town. Quartz Hill is what it was called, out there in the desert in California. And I would drive up on top of Quartz Hill and I would just look around and I'd look for new framing, new construction. And then I would kind of guess what the cross streets are of that place. And I'd write it down. Then I'd look out and I'd guess what the cross streets are where I see this other house being framed. And I'd had a 360 view on that little foothill. There was a water tank. I'd walk around the water tank and I'd just identify everything I could possibly see in sight where I could see a framed building. And I'd write down where I thought the cross streets were. And then I'd drive off the hill and I'd drive all over hill trying to find, and I'd always be wrong, but I'd drive enough that eventually I'd find it. And I would go straight to the builder and I'd say, hey, you need cabinets? And we're taking bids. And I'd make my best bid. And sometimes I'd get the job. Sometimes I wouldn't. But anyways, so yeah, I really enjoyed, and being a cabinet maker is great. It really is, because you optimize, you got to optimize. And really it's analogous to your money. You optimize when you have plywood, and you know what I'm talking about, Tony. You have a kick toe. When you have a cabinet, where your feet go underneath. Well, your cabinets on average for a cabinet height, they're like 36 inches. Well, a sheet of plywood is 96 inches, right? So, 3 times 36, what's that, 100 and 108? That's longer than your plywood. So you cut your plywood, you want your cabinets, you want your toe kick to be high enough that you can get 3 cuts out of a sheet of plywood. In other words, you're optimizing that sheet. So you get three 32s or 3 31-inch pieces. That's your total of 96 of the height. You get 3 pieces out of that. And then your cabinets are 24 inches deep. Well, you have a face frame that's 3/4 of an inch. So in other words, you can split the plywood down the middle and you can cross cut it twice. And now you got 6 sides, because oak or ash or whatever, birch or whatever, it's all very expensive plywood. And you're optimizing your material. And that's kind of how you got to look at it. It's analogous to what you do with your cash flow and your money and your real estate and your rentals. You look at how much equity you have, what's your payment, how much can I pull out of there, and I can still make money and cover the second mortgage, which is going to be the line of credit that I pull out, and then I pull that out and I buy other stuff. So anyways, always think numbers. Listen, I can tell you right now, anytime I talk to anybody in any conversation, it doesn't even matter what it's about. If it's how much a bottle of wine is, I think about how much that costs a glass. I go to numbers with everything. And I urge you to do the same. It helps you in a lot of ways. All right, man. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, wow. I wish I had a client like that. Actually, I used to do like homes that were 8,000 square feet, and we'd do, $50,000. It's although my first cabinet jobs were $1,700 a unit. I didn't make any money. Let's see. All right, let's go to Felix. Hey Tom, thinking of telling the FSBO or for sale by owner that financing will take longer than expected, but I could go in with hard money lender quickly if we renegotiate the property for $75,000. Well, yeah, I mean, look, Felix, it's all numbers, right? I mean, I've done fixer uppers. I've done them on the tube here. I've done many of them on here now, but it's all bottom line is how much can you make on it? You got to buy it under market. I mean, if somebody will go down and it gets you to where you need to be and you can get the money, and I like hard money better than a partner because a partner is going to take half. Hard money lender is just going to charge you a lot of interest for what you borrow, but that should be, insignificant to the profit you make if you buy it right. But so, like I say, on that for sale by owner deal, get it. I mean, if you can get a deal that you're happy with, owner finance, get it. Then talk about, getting it discounted. In fact, another lesson here. I told you about how I had a note, right, that I let somebody assume and got $30,000. Well, I did the same thing on the other side. It was a different deal. But I had another one where instead of the owner didn't care, they didn't want me to finance part of it. And I had some good financing in place. So just before close, I went ahead and contacted the person I bought it from that had the note. And I said, hey, will you take 20 grand or 30? I don't remember now. But I said, will you take 20 grand off if I pay you early? And they said, sure. And so here I had it sold. I was closing in a month no matter what. And so they said, sure. And so when they got the payoff amount, they took 20,000 off. They thought I was just going in to pay it off. But really I had it sold. So I picked up another 20,000 by paying off the note early. You see, these are the things you got to think about. And like I said, I've been doing this 39 years. Every year I bought property. Every year I bought multiple properties, or, even when I was in down times, I don't think I've ever had a year that I didn't buy a property. But those are the kinds of things that happen when you've done so many deals over so much time. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Felix, I hope I answered your question. Oh, they wouldn't owner carry. Okay, well, then you just got to get the best cash deal you can get. All right, let me go to the next one. Damien, wouldn't it be that big projects bring the neighborhood's value up for all the properties nearby? Yeah, well, in general, it doesn't hurt. I mean, really, even adding a Kentucky Fried Chicken or, all those are amenities, right? Every time you add a fast food or a nice restaurant or a bowling alley or some sort of a water park, I mean, those are nice amenities for people to go to. And so, yeah, I mean, no, improvements are, a buddy of mine, and he might have sold his apartment complex to Grant Cardone. I don't know for sure. He didn't know. I asked him. He said, I'm not for sure. He sold an apartment complex during COVID. He had it sold. And he was scared to death that they were going to cancel the escrow. But before closing, they grinded him for another 30,000 off. And he didn't like it, but he said, sure. And he sold it. And he had that thing at like 90-something% occupied. And 6 months later, it was down to 70% occupied. Or I should say 6 weeks later, it went way down. And anyways, he's so glad he sold it, because people got out of work immediately and people just fled their apartments. So easy living, I'm telling you, it's not that way everywhere on these apartments. And I've owned apartments. So I mean, I know, and I know plenty of people that live in apartments that have moved to trailers, and I see people moving into my people that have been tied up in an apartment for 8 weeks during COVID. They're going stir crazy. They're looking. I mean, they'll move into a trailer. They'll move into a tent somewhere before they want to be quarantined inside of an apartment anymore. All right, I want to make sure I get everybody here. All right. Yeah, Tony, man, just go to my website, Tom at FlipAnythingUSA.com or Tom at FlipAnythingUSA if you want to email me. I got a lot of emails. I don't go through them very quickly. I'm too busy right now. I got the mentoring going, and I'm a real investor, so I'm very busy all the time, just making deals, and right now selling stuff. Yeah, Felix. Well, that sounds good. If there's 45,000, that's a chunk of money. So Damien, I think all right. So look, if I passed your question, if anybody else got another question, please go ahead. Oh, somebody was asking about mentoring. Look, the mentoring's closed on the one that I'm doing. I'll probably do another one in August. I'll start another one, and I'm learning from this one too. I was starting to think maybe I should do a 2-week instead of a 1-month crash course or fast track or whatever you want to call it. But so far, I think everybody's been real happy. I hope so. I promise I'm doing everything I can, but everybody seems happy so far. Okay, Cyrus has got another one. So Cyrus's question, when you tie up a lot with the intention to sell it to the neighbors, if they both turn you down, do you just, well, listen, Cyrus, it depends on how you write. It depends on how you write your contract. I mean, when you're going to buy the property, number one, as soon as you got an agreement that somebody's going to sell you your property and they're obliged to sell it to you within 30 days or 45 days or 90 days, whatever it is. Like I say, you always want to have, 30 days to approve the title report or 30 days to approve whatever you want to approve. But basically, you're just getting 30 days so that you can back out and get your money. In other words, I write all my contracts. I'll give everybody a certain amount of time. And we say before their money goes hard. When their money goes hard, that means they lose it. So in other words, and I always push to so people know out of seriousness, I'll say $10,000 down with the balance, or $10,000 deposit, and it's non-refundable after 30 days. So that means if I have a 60-day contract to close, after 30, I can back out before 30 days, but after 30 days, that $10,000 is non-refundables. It's theirs. In fact, if they're even concerned about it, I'll say, and it can be released. So escrow will release the $10,000. I just want the 60 days. Usually, a lot of times it's because I want to keep it, and I'm just like juggling to get the money to close the deal, and maybe it's one I want to keep, for a long time. I'm always looking for offices. I'm always looking for commercial buildings, but I really don't like stuff much smaller than 20,000 square feet. I'll take a 5,000. I mean, I'll take anything that's a good deal, but I probably won't hold it unless it's at least 10,000 plus square feet, to be honest. I think that answers your question. You don't need to get a notary, at least not in the USA. You're in the Dominican Republic, right, Damien? I mean, I don't know. Your laws might be different there, but here, listen, as soon as somebody's got their name on the contract, it's a deal. And if somebody starts to back out, then you can get a lawyer if you need to. I've never really had to do that, and it's surprising. I mean, I've had some lawyers in my life, unfortunately, over real estate, but not because I need to force somebody to make a deal. Okay, cool. Thanks, Cyrus. All right. Well, hey, I see you guys are networking some too. That's good. Anyways, if there's isn't any more questions, man, I'll probably wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and please like the video, and if you're in the mentorship, man, please watch all those Q&A videos in the membership area, and get the classes. And Robert, if you're watching, be sure to read the book and do all that stuff too. But I guess thanks, Ellie. Ciao. Take care. And again, if you don't have my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate, you can get it on Amazon and Kindle. So thanks a lot. Have a great night. See ya. All right, man. Yep. Thank you. Let's see if I can figure out how to end it. Here we go. All right. One more question. Playboy. Is it common for sellers to walk away from a deal over a few $100s? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I can tell you, I got one in my pocket right now. I hadn't even cashed. What do they call it now? They didn't used to have it, but now what they'll have you do is they'll have the sellers write 2 checks when they go into contract these days. This isn't how we used to do it in the old days, but it's like a good faith, or I forget what they call it. Anyhow, it's kind of like good faith money. It's not the deposit, but it's like they write a check for $150 that is non-refundable. But it's a way, and it's smart. Listen, I'm the firmest believer in you test sincerity with the wallet. Always test sincerity with the wallet. And so it's kind of a good test for somebody to go in that's going to buy a house from you, that they have to put $150 up that is non-refundable. And that's what this is. I can't remember what they refer to. It's on every contract. But I have a check in my pocket right now. I think it's for $100 or $150. And they didn't close. Or actually, maybe they are closing. But I hadn't cashed it yet. But it goes toward the purchase price if they close. But if they don't close, then it's mine. And that's how it works. So it's not a bad test. But I mean, I've let thousands of dollars go just because I couldn't make sense of the deal. I tied it up, and then I go, yeah, good faith. Thank you. But I've lost deposits. I just go, you know what? The times got tougher, it got worse. And I thought, they can have the $5,000 or whatever. It's not worth it. Cool. All right, man. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to say goodnight. I just want to take care of that last question. See ya.